All right, so here's number 12, where we're sort of figure out the direct materials, direct labor, and factory overhead cost variance. And this is Mackinac Inc. Anyway, so you can see our standard costs and our actual costs. And so we're just going to compare those. Okay, so we'll start down in A, determine the direct materials price variance, and the direct materials quantity variance, and then the total direct materials cost variance. So to find our direct materials price variance, we're going to take the actual price minus the standard price times the actual quantity. So we can see, like, here's our direct materials that are $4.70 a pound, our actual materials, which are $4.50 a pound, and then we're going to multiply that by the actual quantity, which is 208,500. So actual price, oh, actually, I think I did that wrong, but for actual price, $4.50 minus the standard price, which is $4.70, gives us a -2 or -20 cents per pound. And then multiply that by the actual quantity. The actual quantity, 208,500 pounds. So our direct materials price variance is going to be -41,700. And whenever it's negative, we're going to say that that is favorable. Okay. All right. So next, I thought there was a way to make my calculator stay up, but it's being silly. So I'm actually going to do this over here so I can have my calculator up here. It won't be in the way of anything. All right. So second is that we're going to find our direct materials quantity variance. So our quantity variance is the actual quantity minus the standard quantity times the standard price. So here I have my actual quantity, 208,500, minus my standard quantity, which is 210,600. And then we're going to multiply that by the standard price. And the standard price was $4.70. So we're going to take that times 4.70, gives us -98.70. And again, we're going to call that favorable. And then our total is just going to be the sum of these two. Okay, so if I have 51,570, and again, we're going to call that favorable. So to think about what this means, our direct materials price variance is based on the difference between our standard price, in other words, what we expect to pay, and our actual price. So the fact that our actual price was 20 cents cheaper than what we expect to pay, that means we're going to have a favorable variance. And then we multiply that by the actual quantity. That tells us if it's a 20 cent per pound variance, then times the actual quantity tells us the total amount of favorable, or you would call it cost savings, favorable variance. Direct labor, we're not there yet, sorry. And then our quantity variance is going to be based on the difference in our quantity. So we planned for 210,600, but we actually only had to use 208,500 and multiply that by our standard cost. And that tells us how much we saved because of the fact that we used less. So the first one is how much our variance is because of the fact that the price is different than we planned for. The second is how much variance we have because of the fact that we used less than what we planned for. So that's kind of, I hope that helps explain why we care about these variances. So let's look at our direct labor rate variance and time variance, and then we'll get our total direct labor variance. So we'll start with our direct labor rate variance. So again, that'd be the variance based on the difference in rate. So here we planned for $17.20. It actually cost us $17.40. So we can see that that's going to be an unfavorable variance. So I'm just going to take my actual rate per hour, $17.40. Sorry, I had to pause that for a minute. So we're going to talk, okay, so we're talking about direct labor rate variance, right? So this is the variance based on the fact that our direct labor rate is different than what we planned for, okay? So to find that, we're going to take our actual rate per hour. So that was $17.40. And then we're going to subtract our standard rate per hour of $17.20. So we see there's a 20-cent difference between our planned for or standard rate per hour and our actual rate. And then we're going to multiply that by our actual hours. Okay, so our actual hours were 19,950 hours. So we have a $3,990 unfavorable direct labor rate variance. That means we end up costing us $3,990 more for direct labor based on the fact that our actual rate was higher than what we had planned for, or our standard rate. So our direct labor time variance now is going to be that variance based on the fact that it took more time, more direct labor to do the job than we thought. So to do that, we'll take our actual direct labor hours, 19,950 hours, and we'll subtract our standard direct labor hours of 19,900 hours. Oh, sorry, 500 hours, 19,500. So we can see it took us 450 hours more to do it than we thought. We're going to multiply that by our standard rate. Okay, so standard rate was $17.20, which is $7,740. Again, that's an unfavorable variance, meaning we spent more than we planned on spending. So now the sum of our direct labor rate variance and direct labor time variance is going to be our total direct labor cost variance. 3990 plus 7740 is $11,730. All unfavorable. So recognize in real life, we'll know how much the variance is. We'll know this job cost us more than we planned. This helps us break down and say, well, why did that cost more? Well, it cost more, 3,990 more because the rate was higher than we planned for. We had to pay more for our direct labor, and it cost 7,740 more because the job took us more time. And then we're going to say our overall rate variance. So let's see, our variable factory overhead controllable variance, our fixed factory overhead volume variance, and then the total is going to be our total factory overhead cost variance. Okay, so again, what we're going to do here, so our direct, let's see. Give me a minute. I have to think about this one. All right, so our variable overhead controllable variance is going to be our actual variable factory overhead cost incurred, which is going to be, let's see, $71,430 minus our budgeted variable factory overhead, which is our variable cost rate, $3.70 per hour, times the actual number of hours that we used, which was 19,950 hours. Hope that makes sense. Let's see. So let's look at that one more time. So we have the variable cost rate, $3.70, times the, sorry, I had to pause that recording again, just a little distracted. Anyway, so we have our variable factory overhead controllable variance, which is going to be our variable cost of $3.70 times our, let's see, our standard direct labor hours. So $9 or 19,500 hours. So $3.70 times 19,500 is a 72,150. And then wait a minute. I'm screwing this up again, guys. So that's okay. So our actual variable overhead costs were 73,360. No, we're 71,430. But our budgeted were 72,150. Okay. So in other words, we're just going to look at our direct labor hours of 19,500 times the variable cost per hour. That's what we budgeted. Okay. So 19,500 times 3.7. There's our budgeted variable overhead cost. We actually spent 71,430. So 71,430. Whoops. 430 minus the, now I just forgot what it was. So that's okay. It was 72,150 is going to be our variance. Okay. So minus 720. So that's a favorable variance. Again, all we're doing is taking our planned or standard direct labor hours times our planned or standard variable cost, and that will give us our budget for direct labor. And then we'll subtract the actual from or we'll subtract the standard from the actual, and we'll get our variance. In other words, we spent $720 less than what we would have expected on variable costs. Sorry about that. I know that was a little confusing. So same idea with fixed factory overhead volume variance. Okay. Again, we're going to look at so our normal capacity. This is kind of like we did on problem 10. Okay. So our normal capacity at 100%, let's see, we'll figure that out somewhere in here, of 20,350. Okay. So they actually figured out this fixed cost for us of $5.80. So if we take our direct amounts or a direct time of 19,500, actually, let's think about this one for a moment. So it looks like we're going to say the normal capacity is 20,350. And then the standard for the amount that we actually produced is 19,500. So if I take 20,350 minus 19,500, that tells me I didn't use 850 hours that I could have used. Okay. And so that 850 hours that I could have used times the standard fixed factory overhead cost rate of $5.80 is going to be $4,930. So again, we're going to have this unfavorable variance because we didn't use all of the time that we could have used. Okay. So that's the crazy thing with fixed costs, right? You pay them no matter what. So if you don't use up all the productive time you can, then it's actually costing you more per hour. So my total factory overhead cost variance then is then the sum of these two. Oops, let me clear this. Negative 720 plus 4930. Oh, I think I did minus. That's just confusing. Let me clear. 720 plus 4930. It's 4,210. Unfavorable. All right. Sorry, I stammered through that part a little bit. I just had to sort of talk my brain into why it all worked. Let's check our work. Yeah, we're all good. So I hope that was helpful. And again, sorry it took me a little longer than it probably should have. And again, I hope you have a super great week.